Testing.
Testing 1 2 3. I'm gonna make a quick little video concerning the whole Catholic thing on the board. Abbazag, I just read your post, and I'm going to read it again to kind of set the tone of this video. But I think this is an important thought. I think it's an important thing to come to terms with. The Catholic Church, as in terms with the world, what's happened with it, and where it's been, where it's going, where it's heading, and all that type of thing. But I want to read the post first, and then I'm going to make a few comments on there that I think sometimes we miss the point of. Because, you know, there's a whole lot of knowledge and information on these boards, and here these days I'm always thinking about, you know, now we got this knowledge and information, what the hell are we supposed to do with it? What are we supposed to let it do to us? So I think it's relevant. So I'm gonna read this post, and then I'm gonna make a few comments. Okay, the post was by abbazag, and which is who this video is really to, and I'm going to read the post. I know that some of you are a Catholic background, and it's not those of you that have a deeper understanding of God's Word that I'm speaking about. Hope I'm not offending anyone here at all, but it is pertinent that Catholics who know the truth, or at least have good strong understanding of God's basic plans, speak to those in their church about trying to warn them. I would never demand that any Catholic leave their church or become some submissive wimp because this is intellectual warfare, and most importantly, the Catholics believe in Christ and therefore do qualify as a Christian church. My point is this. Is to show just how painfully obvious it is that Rome will control the entire Christian world in the last days of this earth. They haven't stopped for 2,500 years, and they're not going to stop anytime soon. Now consider that even if Satan were not to show up for another 500 years, Rome, in another 10 years, will certainly have sewn up almost all of America and Europe, and it would be the Catholic Church system that controls the political and legal and educational and financial aspects of the world, which I believe what you just mentioned there was the four hidden dynasties. And we are seeing it happen right in front of our nose at this very moment in time. It's pretty obvious that Rome will have almost full control of America and thus the world in another 50 years, is it not? So when Slewfoot gets, I guess that's the Antichrist, gets here, I wonder which church system he's going to choose to sit on the throne of? Question mark. Well, to me, it's no-brainer. The Bible is the truth, and it tells us that Satan's throne will be in Pergamos. I mean, I'll eat my hat if Satan decides to sit on this throne, stoop and atop the Seventh-day Adventist church, or the Baptist church, or any other Protestant church. I mean, the idea is almost absurd. He spends thousands of years building a huge religious, political, educational, financial system, and again I think you're referring to the four hidden dynasties, so that when he comes here, he can sit on the throne and rule planet Earth from some throne in Alabama? Question mark. I guess that's what that says. Okay, forgive my reading, it's slow this morning. Oh hell, I lost my place. Pretty much so did. Let's see, Slewfoot's going to have to pretty going to have a pretty tough time convincing the entire world he's king of it from a throne in some 2,000 square foot church in Alabama, like that. And even a harder time reaching the entire world via media, etc. And really, it kind of dampens the thrill effect by about, let's say 99.9%, wouldn't you have to agree? Why would this massive Catholic controlled system we are now seeing come to world power if he has no intention of sitting on the throne and ruling from it? I think much of it is merely a matter of common sense and the fact that really we're getting smacked in the face, but by something so painfully obvious it might almost be too obvious for many to see. I wanted to say a bit about Catholic media supervision as well. Rome is incredibly apt when it comes to propaganda. Let's look at a few ways in which we can see proof of just how far they've taken it here in America. If you ask any history professor who was the first president of the United States, they'll almost all say George Washington. Yet that was not true. Why is it that more than 100 years of British Protestant rule has been wiped out from the history books? Oh yeah, must have been an accident. Okay, then how about this? What about if you ask who discovered America? They'll almost all say Catholic Christopher Columbus. And yet that is untrue, and we all know it's untrue. So why are we still teaching this to our children in our school textbooks? Subversion. Okay then, why doesn't the media or almost any of our school textbooks mention that Hitler and the SS were Catholic? Why don't the textbooks tell us that Hitler's mother and father were Catholic and are buried in a Catholic cemetery? Seems fairly odd, don't you think? And what about Italian Mussolini and his he was right beside Hitler all the way, and yet the textbooks never even make him out to be a monster that they make Hitler out to be. In fact, they almost ignore him completely in comparison to old Adolf. These facts are just very, very few examples of brainwashing, the culture warfare aimed at Protestant America, and spiritual, intellectual warfare at satanic welfare. Satan will help the Catholics in their attempt to destroy Protestantism, and in return, the Catholic Church will get what's coming to it. The good news is that the situation is not all Catholics blindly following their church system, as some of you are living proof of that fact. You people should be very humbled by the fact that you are able to escape the flood of lies. I was never introduced into the Catholic social engineering program, and I am humbled and thankful to Christ for being able to escape Satan's traps. When I think of those of you who were indiscriminated from a young age and were still capable of seeing the truth, is quite awe-inspiring, I'll say that much. Someone is smarter than average bear. Let's see. I would think that any Catholic with a brain in their head would be open to the Vatican ruling America, would be opposed to the thought of losing their free system that has brought peace, prosperity, and safety to Americans under God's hand for so many years. This is where the pyramid model works so effectively through the mass majority of people at the bottom tiers have no idea what is true plans of those at the upper tiers, because if any majority of the Catholics on the bottom even figure out what their church was really up to, they would, let's see, there would be resolve in a heartbeat. I would just say to those regular Christian Catholic people who love freedom, look around you. Look what's happening in the world around you for the proof that you need, or better yet, open your Bibles and start studying. Okay, that's the end of abbazag's post, which is a pretty long post. Sorry it took me so long to read. It's kind of early in the morning. I'm slow to get my brain decalcified. The Catholic machine, the Catholic thing, the power system of the Catholic world. I was one that was raised in the Catholic world, though we weren't at all devout Catholics, and I think that probably 90% of the Catholic world are not what we consider to be devout Catholics. There's one thing came to my mind as I was reading this post, and that is all the videos and proofs and works out there on the internet today exposing who is in charge of the Catholic Church. And I think you were good and wise and careful in your post to protect the Catholics who may be reading your post, protect them from offending them. And I think we always have to be careful to do that with any group of spiritual people we're talking about or reading about or learning about, because we are one of those groups ourselves and they're doing the same thing to us. But one thing that comes to mind is who's at the head of the Catholic Church? Why is the Catholic Church any different than any other church that's under the rule of sun worshipers? Because that's exactly who is at the head of the Catholic Church. And I say sun worshipers because it rounds it all off to the head of where it all began, which is on the walls of Babylon. You can call it Moag, you can call it sun worship, you can call it Ra, you can call it, I don't give a damn which branch you go off to. It's all still inevitably going to come back to some of the oldest written language there is, and the oldest religion, which is Babylon. I don't think the Catholic Church is any different than any other established religion system. I think if you get to the head of them, in order for them to stay alive in today's climate, they have to, at the very top of their systems, all be corrupt with sun worshiping. Because the sun worshiping deal is so powerful throughout the world that no church system can make it without either their support or allowance. So back to the Catholic Church, we've all seen the pictures of the Pope, and we've all seen we've all learned where the fish hat came from and why, and we've all learned that with the upside down crosses he likes to keep around himself so that the people in the know will know his stand. We've all seen the secret handshakes of the hidden. We can also talk about the Masons, the Masonics. Hell, they're the same way. Good and decent, well-intentioned people, but have no idea who's at the top of their pyramid, and have a very good understanding at the lower tiers of the pyramid, have no understanding of who's actually at the top, which is Satan. Why? Because this is his world. He's Lord of this world. This is his domain. Naturally, Satan is going to have to be top of that pyramid, because that pyramid is a physical thing in this world, and he is Lord of this world. So, I mean, we can all keep a blind eye to the heads of our church and remain part of them at the bottom tiers, giving the top tiers power if we so desire, if we choose, which is what 99.9% of this world, if not more, does. Remaining the part of the fuel, the system that empowers the pyramid for the few families at the very top, the 13 that run everything, that play God, and in a way are the hands of God, because many of the things that God is told that's going to happen in this world is going to happen through those people. And sometimes I think that's why they declare themselves to be God, simply because they realize that the mass exterminations and all those things that's been taking place on this world and is going to take place even more yet are at the allowance of God, that this story can be told, thus making themselves the hands of God. What part do they play? Is it an evil part? Is it a necessary part? Did the people at the top tiers all, really feel like they're God? Are they all crazy? I'd venture to say probably not. They probably understand exactly what I just said, as in somebody's got to be the hands to bring this whole plan to its end state. So, all that being said, the Catholic thing is a good thing to look at. It's a good thing to understand. Is everybody in the Catholic Church in dire straits of being misled? Shit, I wouldn't think any more than anybody else, any of the rest of us. I think there are all going to be aspects, no matter what we learn, what we know, that there's going to be misleading. I mean, there's going to be bits and pieces of your theology with holes in it. And I think that's important to it's important to look at that fact about all of us. Catholic Church is basically just like any other church, except in that it's probably the biggest. You could argue now, look at the Muslim world and look at how fast they're growing, and who does the polls? Shit, I don't believe any polls anyway. I don't think anybody can. The polls are all as crooked as any other system out there. But I can look around me and look on TV and in movies and things, and I can get a sense that certainly the Muslim world is fast gaining in their numbers of Muslim believers. Doesn't change the fact that the Catholic Church was here first. I'm not going to say first as in before the Muslim belief, but as first as being a huge church in power. And the Catholic Church is certainly one of the first huge churches in power. So they're the big boy on the block. They got tons of money, church on every corner, a belief system that has infiltrated and controlled the minds of people for for many years. But thank God, man, we can all still think for ourselves. And up to this point, and I think we're right up to that threshold, we still are all empowered to think for ourselves and come out of the church system. Would it be a Catholic church, a motherly church, a Protestant church, it makes no difference what it is. I think it's very important at this point to come out of the church. I think that's what come out of her means, that part in the Bible that's giving us all this warning. Because I don't think there are any churches out there today allowed to exist that the top of that church isn't controlled by and contaminated by sun worship. It's funny to think that all these things that are against Christ, that are not Christ, that are to say antichrist, are in fact powered by people claiming to be Christian. I mean, everybody that's in these churches are all saying Christ, Christ, Christ. And at the top of their churches, they got people making decisions like, horrendous, very much against God, what the scriptures teach us of what being a Christian is. It goes all against that. And I don't think you're going to find a church today that has anything to do with sticking to Christ's original thought process and his original intent. Because if you did, you would find the world would do to that church exactly what the world did to Christ. And that's to ridicule you, persecute you, and hang your ass out to dry, so to speak. Because the world does not want Christianity. It never did. It only wanted the miracles that Christianity could work for it. Look at this big, huge world it was built on, and the foundation was on Christianity. That's why we could work together. We were Christians. That's why we could build these huge cities, these huge infrastructures, these huge everything that the world has become to be. And just like you could liken that to Christ working these miracles to all these sick people that couldn't get out of the dirt floor technique, and they were all dirty and filthy and pussy and dying with leprosy without Christianity. When Christ giving these miracles and healed them, run up to this great thing, hell, they all turned on him when the persecution started, from the church, by the way. So, I mean, I think a true church today would suffer those same exact things. If you started on rail with what true Christianity represents and means, it's going to have to persecute and kill you, because the earth system as it is today, this flesh system, cannot function under the control of Christianity. So anyway, about the Catholics, I appreciate your posts. I get a lot of points that you're making, but at the same time, I think the thought that comes to my mind is, let's not forget that who's at the top of the Catholic Church, the real power that's in control of the Catholic Church. And it ain't the local priest, it ain't the monsignors or whatever they call them. It ain't all those things. It is the sun worshipers. Those guys go all the way back to Baal, and it's Baal worship. I mean, it's all the way back to the beginning. Same people, same power. They just, seem to have taken over all mechanized religions, and any type of any part of the religion aspect that has anything to do with money, which a big church, Catholic Church, is certainly a part of that. So, with that being said, I guess I just wanted to share with you my feelings that it's not so much the Catholic Church per se as it is the people at the top of it are in control of it, which is the sun worshipers. And I think we probably, as vigilant watchers of what's going on in the world of Christianity, as well as in this world of death, we need to keep eye on the sun worshiper thing, because that's where the true threat to all of us comes from. Sun worshiping. Okay, this is a long video. I apologize for getting so long and long-winded, but it was so much there that it's one of those things where it's best spoken than written. But anyway, I appreciate your thoughts, abbazag, and I've been reading your post on the board, and you got a lot of energy and effort into them, and I appreciate your effort. And certainly much of it is not lost on me. So, okay guys, till the next video, thank you, and we'll see you. Adios.